Welcome to the Adventure Mechanics. I'm Chandler,
I'm Devin.
And I'm Tom.
and today we'll be talking about one of the most impressive games from 1990 called Rise of the Dragon. This is
Woo!
kind of an interesting game insofar as it's from 1990 and it has surprisingly amazing graphics for the time. And beyond that, there's not a huge amount of ink written or dedicated to this game. From what little I've researched, this is a game made by Dynamics, who was acquired by Sierra. They did like flight simulators and action style games, and this was their first adventure game. That was about the most research that I could pull out of this. No developer talking about it, no postmortems, no look backs at it, or anything like that.
Yeah, the only other thing was that in 1993 they ported it Sega CD.
Sega CG!
Oh, that's right. Yeah, in 1993 they ported it to Sega CD, and that was the only other thing I could find about it.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
I-
relevant for voice act.
Yes, it is, because the DOS version does not have voice acting.
Oh, it does. Just the intro scene.
Yeah,
Hey,
but
baby, you gonna give me a good time? She's talking to a patch. Oh,
Yeah.
God! Yeah, the voice acting for DOS is hilariously bad. I recommend
and it's
watching
only
the intro.
like 10 seconds, like not 10 seconds, it's longer than that. It's like half a minute. It's not very long.
Yeah,
But the Sega CD version is completely voice acted, and it's amazing.
yeah. You can tell they put a lot of effort into the voice acting for it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the colors kind of went wrong in it, but it's still workable.
Yeah, it's
Just
not
not as
too.
good as DOS.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's this game about, Devin?
Okay, well,
Hold
as
on to your butts. We
usual-
got the long story.
yeah, hold on to your butts. It's involved. Also, per the usual, there are going to be spoilers. I am going to go through the entire synopsis of the game. So I recommend you go play it or go watch a let's play if you can't play it. Go do something else and then come back. We will still be here. But if you don't want spoilers, don't listen past this point because there will be spoilers. So you've been warned.
We should probably
and-
kind of
and we
describe
can-
what the game is.
Oh yeah, you should probably do that.
Okay. Yeah, Rise of the Dragon is a point-and-click adventure game slash action game, because there are technically 3 action scenes in it, based in a cyberpunk world where you're a washed-up cop come detective dating somebody in the courthouse or the
Records office.
records office at the courthouse or mayor's office. They kind of just call it the government building. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
the
struggling with
government
that. But yeah, and apparently there's a drug on the streets that you need to get to the bottom of because the mayor's daughter has fallen victim to it. You know,
It kills people in very horrible ways.
yeah. It's very 80s don't do drugs MK plot. that
With some like, around the corner, Chinese mythology, not really mythology, but like fake Chinese mythology.
yeah, think of like
Chinese racism mythology, one of those
Yes.
kinds of things.
yeah,
Yeah, the stereotypes are real.
yeah, it's like the Siamese cats in Lady and the Tramp had a baby with 3 ninjas that like super 90s film, and then a little bit of
Except ninjas are
Schwarzenegger's-
Japanese and not Chinese. So
Yeah.
I guess.
Oh yeah, that's the accuracy of Chinese. And
I was
know
gonna say,
you-
I feel like that just exaggerates this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, which is why I pointed
those-
it out.
yeah, yeah, we're
Now, what's the difference, huh?
yeah, it's bad and funny at the same time. It feels like you're playing an 80s action film. It's great for that reason alone. And if that sounds interesting to you and you haven't played it or spoiled it for yourself yet, absolutely go play it. I know it's on GOG, but there's I think the Wayback Machine on Internet Archive also has it online. So there's ways to get a hold of this without spending much money or any money on that. So give it a try and come back.
Yeah. Go
Yes.
play it, and we'll wait.
Yeah,
We'll wait.
We'll
be
wait right here.
yeah. Just
We'll be
just
here.
hit the
How
pause
long is this
button.
game, guys?
Oh God.
Oh, it's like an hour and a half if you know what you're doing. 2 hours if you don't.
Okay, so for anyone who has already played the game, just go ahead and skip forward in the podcast about an hour and a half. We're just going to sit in silence, and we're going to wait
I
for
am
all the
not
people
doing
that haven't
that.
played.
I am not doing that. I'm sorry. They
wait,
can hit
you-
the pause button.
This is the first time I've heard of that. I didn't know what a pause button was. I'm sorry.
Ugh. It's right next
My
to the
life is changed
rewind
forever.
button on your VCR.
Oh yeah, you got to do that before you return DVDs and stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The logic there checks out. Okay, now that we've kind of described it, given the disclaimer, let's go into the story now.
All right, here there be spoilers. So, Rise of the Dragon. The year is 2053. The city, Los Angeles. A woman meets a drug dealer, buys her fix, then slips down an alley. She applies the patch to her neck, expecting a nice trip, but something's wrong. She starts to bleed. She screams. When bystanders hurry to see what's wrong, they find the woman dead and horribly disfigured. You play the game as William Blade Hunter, a private detective and ex-cop, who has woken up to his cluttered apartment and a message from LA's mayor. The mayor's daughter, Chandra, died horribly and brutally the night before, and he demands Blade take up the case. He gives him a lead to one of Chandra's friends, called the Jake, known to hang out at the Pleasure Dome in the south of the city.
Pleasure Dome.
Yeah. Pleasure Dome, take me home.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
So far, this plot describes about 15 80s movies.
Yeah.
So I'm
Oh yeah, it gets
amazed.
better.
Hold
It
on to
gets
your
better.
butts because it gets a lot more
Oh
formulaic.
yeah, just keep like a tally of all the 80s plots that it's good. So but Blade has other more personal problems. Last night he stood up his girlfriend, missing their date, and she is pissed. In fact, Karen Summers has left him an angry message, too, accusing him of spending time at the Pleasure Dome instead of with her, and threatens to flush the keys he left at her place.
Yeah.
Flush?
Flush.
Like with a toilet?
Flush them down the toilet.
Does that?
Doesn't she know there's a water crisis on? No,
I know.
that's like in
Apparently
world
she
there's a water
doesn't.
crisis
Like,
too.
She doesn't understand plumbing in the city either because it looks real bad.
Yeah, well, okay, to be fair, Blade's apartment is like in a half-built building, and like if he takes
True.
a wrong turn, he just walks into the abyss. So
Yep.
yeah,
I feel like we're glossing over something that we really should address. The dude's name is Blade.
yeah,
His nickname is Blade.
yeah.
Oh wow! Did he give himself that nickname?
No, his mullet did.
Yeah.
I told you it
Let
was
him in.
80s as fuck.
Remember that his name is Blade? This is important later, so...
Well,
on the... I brought...
for various definitions of important, I would say.
Well, no, it's important to the plot. Don't lie.
I didn't even notice the first two playthroughs, so yeah.
Oh wow!
Okay,
I'm really in for a treat on this, aren't I?
yes, you are.
yeah.
No, don't worry, I got 3 pages left of story.
I just keep thinking to myself, like, if I was writing a story in 3rd grade, I would choose a name like Blade. I'd be like,
I know.
yeah.
Of
Right?
course, because
So
you have
edgy
been
and
like
cool.
watching all those
Yeah, this is
Schwarzenegger
like-
films.
8th grade Devin playing, like, Vampire the Masquerade. It's like, yeah, this is my character. Her name's Blade.
She's like super edgy.
Yeah.
She's like... She's
really dark.
really-
Don't ask her about her past.
She's
Yeah.
like really good with a sword and guns, and she has black hair, and
And she was a former cop, and yeah.
Yep.
I mean, just remember the developers made flight simulators before this.
Yes, before
so
this.
yeah.
So we're talking like super geeky, because I can't imagine anyone making flight simulators that wasn't just hardcore nerd. And probably incredibly socially awkward with all the things that come with that. So yeah,
Oh,
they may
God,
not
yes.
understand that
Oh god.
Blade.
Yes.
way less cool than they think it is.
Oh god, yes. Yeah, the awkwardness, yeah, it comes out in the humor, which this game has a surprising amount of.
I mean, is it good though?
Yeah.
The humor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
When we talk about the old dude,
Don't spoil
I'll go on
it.
that.
Don't spoil it.
I'm
We need to
spoiling the spoiler section.
stop spoiling the spoilers. Let me read the story.
Fine, I guess I will.
Sorry, Devin. I didn't mean to like totally sidetrack us. Let's get back
No,
on track.
that's okay.
I just couldn't get over that.
No, well, you just keep your tally because it gets more 80s. Awesome.
Oh man, now I want to actually
Yeah.
keep a tally. Hang on.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
You need
Okay,
to put
good.
at least 3 for his mullet. Because damn.
I don't know what was wrong with mullets, really. I mean, I had a mullet when I was, when it was 1990, so
Yeah, well,
I can't say shit.
it looks dated nowadays.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he like
Really? Mullets look I don't know what you're talking about.
he says the guy with 70 sideburns.
I was gonna say with your mutton chops over there.
I am bringing it back, okay? This
You
is
are.
an intentional stylistic choice.
I fully approve.
Let those chops die, man. Let those chops die. Anyway,
Anyway, on the way to City Hall, where Karen works, Blade picks up a dozen really expensive roses and is accosted by a drunk man on the side of the road. The man yells to him about the rise of Bahamut and how everyone is doomed. Doomed!
doomed. He does say it in all caps.
He does say it in all caps. The man also asks if Blade is the one in the prophecy, the hero who will defeat the evil Bahamut and save the universe, though he is chopped into 1,000 tiny pieces in the process.
So what's your tally, Tom? Because I'm at like a dozen.
Yeah, I've added. Okay, I'm being very generous, but immediately the chosen one, check. The Bahamut, check.
The drunk guy on the side of the street, check.
Check.
I was gonna let that one go, but
No,
but
you gotta
might be
check
right.
Yeah,
that one.
it deserves a check.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I'm going for like the super like cringe moments, and I'm like, that could be done well, but I'm sure it wasn't. So
No,
I'm gonna give it to him.
Okay, so it's all tongue in cheek. Like if you watch it or if you play it like you watch 80s Schwarzenegger film, you are in
Yeah.
the right mental state to play this game. Because if you take it too seriously, you're going to be like, oh man, this game has problems. And it does. But if you go in like, oh, this is an 80s action film, oh boy, you are in for an 80s action treat. Yeah, I'm not going to let that go. It is definitely that.
It is a fun 80s action kind of, yeah, I agree. It's fun. It's fun.
So we're on that drunk.
Yeah, so
Also, that is not how drunk people talk. That would be strong drugs, not alcohol. I would say.
No, he's living
well,
in
I
a
mean,
whiskey bottle.
he's holding a bottle and he looks like, it's
Looks like
yeah.
alcohol took like half of his teeth. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I got you. Anyway, hiding out in a warehouse is a mysterious Asian man named
Oh,
Chang
shit.
Li, who
Oh god, check.
Right?
Jack, who somehow knows Blade's name, the manner of Chandra's death, and the fact that Blade is to investigate the crime. He bids Blade be careful, as those who mean him ill know about this too.
Ugh.
Because he is Deus Ex Machina.
You are the chosen one.
Oh,
God.
you want to talk about that, Devin?
Oh man.
So,
I'm gonna guess that I got that really close. because-
yeah, he says you're the chosen one, and in the dialogue tree you have. But
We're not there yet. We're not there yet.
Oh, but you just said you talked to the dude in the closet, or in the alleyway closet.
He talks.
thing.
That comes up when he talks about like the whole like thingamajigger. Like,
Okay,
the whole,
I'll put a
sure.
pin in that, but I'm coming back.
I'm pretty sure it comes up. Let me scroll ahead here, like pages.
Guys, we need to make a rule
Yes,
that we
he
only
does
review
talk about
bad
it when
games.
Comes back with the paper.
If we
So-
only talk about bad games, then we're going to be stuck in the 80s forever.
Yeah, it'll be a bad
I
time.
know, but these are always so much more fun.
No, this isn't a bad game. I never said that. This
Oh well, but it's bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's definitely. I don't need to play this game to know that it's bad.
Okay, so it doesn't have a good story, but it does have.
Right.
You're forcing my hand here, but it has good artwork, and it has
Right.
some of the best joke writing that we've played so far, which is kind of saying something.
No, that's genuinely awesome.
The
but it's
writing
bad,
itself
and you know
is pretty good. Like it's pretty good writing on the whole. Like even if like there's a lot of tropes and dated stuff, like the writing is not that bad.
I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm just saying that it's bad.
Yeah, it's like enjoyably bad.
It's like 80s
Right.
movie bad.
Right. Which
know,
can be
that's
good,
it.
but it's still bad.
Yeah, there's some parts that definitely didn't age well, and we'll get to that.
Okay.
We've already covered a few of them.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's more. There's more.
Well, there's more. So, at City Hall, Blade presents Karen with the roses and an apology. She is appeased and returns his keys to him, and they set up a date to make up for the one he didn't show up for. Keys
Check.
in hand, Blade returns to his apartment to get some effects out of a locked cabinet, including a very rare black market chocolate bar, which makes for a great bribe at the Pleasure Dome, where one has to keep the bouncers in a good mood if you want your gun back when you leave.
So
What the hell is a
some of
black market chocolate bar?
some of the backstory on this, because they do actually explain it. You examine the bar and it's like, oh, this is black market chocolate due to
Yep.
sugar being like outlawed or
Like,
something
rare.
like that.
It's rare.
Okay, so this is
Yeah.
kind of
Don't
like
have it.
dystopian a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, it's very
Okay.
dystopian. Yeah.
Okay.
But they don't address any.
I guess
of the
that deserves a
dystopian.
check too, because dystopian in the
Yeah.
80s.
It's
Yeah.
it's 80s dystopian. It's just there, but nobody really acknowledges it.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, so definitely a check on the 80s as fuck.
Oh yeah, I mean that's like the only kind of story that existed in the 90s late 80s, early 90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blade heads to the Pleasure Dome, a bar, cum strip club, cum casino, the quintessential den of iniquity. Checks his
Check.
gun at the door, along with the chocolate bar offering, then begins his search for the dead girl's friend, the Jake. The sneering bartender points him in the direction of a man in a green coat. When Blade indicates a friend of the Jake is in trouble, dead even, the man demands proof. Blade shows him a picture the mayor sent of Chandra's mutilated corpse, and the man agrees to talk.
Or you just left that picture on your printer at home and you had to run back and get it.
You had to run back and get it. Yep.
Not that, I did that my first playthrough or anything. Anyway, continue on.
The man in the green coat is the Jake, and he is extremely upset about Chandra. He wants to know what happened to her, what did this horrible thing to her. But he knows more than he says. After some prodding, the Jake reveals that Chandra was hanging around with a drug dealer named Chen Lu, armed with a
Jack.
name and address. Armed with name and address, Blade picks his gun up at the door and makes his way to Chen Lu's apartment. When he arrives at the complex, a man with an eye patch is heading down the hall. The man shoulder checks him, and Blade calls him out, telling him he should watch where he's going in this neighborhood. The man gives a sneering apology, saying he's heard there are dangerous criminals around before heading down the elevator.
Wink, wink.
God, this dude, it looks criminal as fuck. He has a
it's
distinctive
not
eye patch.
shady at all.
He's got the Dolph Lundgren long hair, I'ma whoop your ass up face, despite looking vaguely Chinese.
So what you're
Yeah.
saying is check.
Yeah,
Check.
check
Yep.
and check. Yeah. Yeah.
Blade goes into Chen Lu's apartment and finds a man screaming in pain, writhing on the floor. The man is bound and covered in white pharmaceutical patches. As Blade watches, the man's flesh melts off his bones, rather like the Nazis in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Or you just
course.
go directly to his TV and start playing with it, ignoring the guy writhing in the floor.
You would.
I totally did. I didn't even think about it. I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's dying. Okay, I'm gonna go check his stuff.
Oh my god.
There's a message on Chen's vidphone machine from a Deng Huang. A very ominous and threatening man appears on the screen, telling Chen he's sending a representative to discuss things because Chen has killed a powerful man's daughter and in so doing has exposed their operation. Blade takes Chen's ID and investigates the apartment. Meanwhile,
Check.
a call, legal entry at Chen's apartment goes out to the police. Blade finds some odds and ends around the apartment, including a chocolate bar, a document, some drug patches. He makes a quick exit before the cops arrive. Then he heads over to Karen's because they have a date after all, damn it.
Yeah. Check.
Meanwhile...
Oh yeah, that shows up all the time. Like,
oh yeah.
This
is
game
it like how they
wants-
transition?
No, it's
well, what it is the game is in Blade's POV, right? Like you're playing as Blade, first person. But
Okay.
when the narrative requires the player to know outside information, it will do a meanwhile on the screen and then cut to another scene somewhere else. So I've indicated this with a meanwhile in my story synopsis.
and if you
Perfect.
don't
Yeah.
if you don't read it as a meanwhile, you are totally missing out on the 80s cheese that is this game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, there's a problem at the pharmaceutical factory. They're a week behind schedule. A worker tells a Mr. Kwong that they won't be able to make the deadline, which Mr. Kwong says is unacceptable. Either they'll be on time or they'll face the wrath of Bahamut.
Yeah.
Cut back to Blade.
God, check. Anyway,
And
Oh, get
another
ready
check.
with the checks. There are more checks coming in this paragraph right here. Check.
I've got a lot.
There's more.
Blade and Karen, meanwhile, have a lovely date. A fancy date, even, and all seems right with the world, except for the investigation, of course. The document that Blade picked up at Chen's apartment is written in Chinese, and of course, he can't read it. He brings it to the old man hiding out in the warehouse near City Hall. The old man greets Blade with some astrology, and then says Blade is the chosen one, the only person who can challenge Bahamut, the evil one.
Okay,
He
okay,
tells
Wait, so
Blade...
Okay, we
is
gotta
this a
talk about
separate
this.
person that's doing
Okay, I am not done!
I'm sorry. I just wanted to. Yeah, is this two people now that have told him that? Is that, or is this the same person?
The
Two
bum
people.
on the side of the road asked him about it, and then now the old man Chang Li has told him about this as well. Let me finish
wow.
this part before we talk about it.
Okay,
Okay.
fine.
Christ.
I really need to talk about it, damn it.
Because I say all of the things, so I want to get all of the things in this scene out so that we could talk about it.
Fine.
Instead of stealing my thunder, man. Like I put hours into this.
Okay. Fine.
Okay. Yes, the only person who could challenge Bahamut, the evil one. Okay. He tells Blade that all kinds of divination, even fortune cookies, have been telling of the coming battle between the Chosen One and Bahamut. And he's
did
pretty
you
sure
check
that
it?
Chosen One is Blade because the bad guys have already killed all the other likely candidates. The old man reads the note from Chen's apartment, which seems to indicate a date, time, and place for the rise of Bahamut. Bahamut was an ancient Chinese warlord sorcerer who lived around 3000 BC and was generally a really evil dude. He turned himself into a dragon and, with the help of his followers, destroyed towns and killed and enslaved thousands of people. He was finally defeated by a wizard named Ginsu, or Knife.
Yeah.
Knife
Oh,
was
God.
mortally wounded in battle, and as his dying act, used all his power to banish Bahamut to the Netherworld for 5,000 years. Unfortunately, there was a prophecy of Bahamut's return, that his power would become an addiction to the soul of mankind in the Age of Decay,
Okay.
and only one person would rise to defeat him, the Chosen One.
Okay.
The old man gives Blade some ancient talismans of protection and fortune, including a tome of ancient wisdom, a stone of life, a Kevlar bulletproof vest made by DuPont, and a fortune cookie.
One of these things is not like the other.
Okay, so I got some thoughts on this. This is probably the most hilarious section in the game for me, next to
Yeah.
jumping. But when we get to the action scenes, I'll talk about that. You literally you have the option of asking him, like, "Hey, why do you think I'm the chosen one?" And he's just like, "By process of elimination."
No.
And you're
Guys
"Wait,
killed
what?"
everybody already, yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, whatever. And then when he's like giving you these gifts, he's like, this tome of knowledge, which on every fucking page says, "Don't worry, be happy." Yes, I looked at it and I was like, this is a useless fucking book. And then the stone of life is just a rock that he picked up, right? And then like he's like, and if all else fails, here's a bulletproof vest made by DuPont. It's like, what? Why? Why do I need to know this?
Yep, and a fortune cookie,
And a fortune cookie.
Okay,
which
so
isn't even really
that's-
Chinese, so what?
That's the part that I keep getting hung up on. Is you very casually were just like, all things for prophecy, like fortune cookies. And I went,
Yes.
wait a
Because-
minute.
because
a fortune
it's
cookie is
mentioned
not
specifically.
divination.
It's mentioned specifically, all forms of divination, even fortune
forms.
cookies, and I was like, what? So that's why it's here.
Wait,
Because
so
it's
you're
one of
telling
those
me
things that's like, it's funny.
Yeah.
you're telling me that like fortune
At the-
cookies are, like some people learn like tarot cards and some people
Yeah,
learn how to read
right,
palms, but like really all you got to do is just
Buy
Crack
damn
open a fortune
some,
cookie,
some
man.
Chinese takeout.
Yeah, again, because it's like fortune cookies aren't really even Chinese, and what?
Right.
And, like, they're not even really divination. Like, how are they telling?
I
Yeah.
think we could just qualify they are not divination. They are just some bored old lady that is like, what sounds really vague but also wise? I'm gonna write that down and do that like 100 more times and then just
Yeah.
print a shitload of them out and stick them in cookies.
What do you think
Yep.
Cleo the Psychic is doing now? But yeah,
Oh,
like
God,
seriously.
that is too funny.
So 2 of those items are actually useful, and I will leave it up to you guys to figure that out until later.
Oh, yeah.
You could just leave 2 of them with him and just walk off. Which,
Yep.
once you know the game, you're just like, okay, I don't need these 2 items. You keep
I just
them.
need the things that I need. Yeah.
So this is not a game where everything is important.
No, you can grab a
No.
lot of stuff, but a
Oh, yeah.
lot of it will be red herring styles things, so that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
That is fun.
Okay, now that I've tried stealing your thunder 3 times on that,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I've said what I need to say about it.
Okay. We will continue with the story. After that strange nonsense, Blade goes to see Karen. He has her run Chenlu's ID through the database, discovering his known associates. A Mr. Johnny Kwong, for one, and someone known only as the Snake, who turns out to be the man with the eye patch.
Yeah,
Blade also gives Karen the drug patch for the lab to analyze.
because the clerk will totally have access to the lab guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's another check.
Efficient. Yep.
Yeah.
Blade goes back to the Pleasure Dome to check with the Jake. The Jake has heard of Chen's death, and he hopes the guy suffered for what he did to Chandra. He tells Blade that Chen was working some drug angle for the Chinese mafia out of the pharmaceutical warehouse near City Hall. Blade slips the Jake some chocolate and heads on his way, after collecting his gun, of course.
Holy crap,
Oh,
that was
yeah.
a section of the game that I never even experienced.
Oh my God, really?
Well,
Yeah.
well, there you go.
And I've played this game like 3 times. I'm a terrible
dear.
game
Well-
player.
I mean, it is an adventure game. You can miss, but
I
That's
feel
the
like
thing
I've
that
missed like
happens.
half this game. Even the guy dying on the floor, I was like, oh, okay. I'm gonna go check his messages. That's just
this
not
is
really
why I pay
acknowledging it.
attention to the story.
This is a really cool TV. I like this TV. I wonder.
Oh, look, there's a
I wonder what the
skeleton
full
now.
Oh yeah.
Look at this great dragon statue dude has. Nice. Sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it was TLDR. Dude dies. Didn't want to
Yep.
watch him.
Didn't want to watch him die. It's okay. Blade heads over to Johnny Kwong's house and finds a fortress, complete with electric fences on all sides and armed guards patrolling the property. Blade heads down into the sewers, even after a former programmer living on the street warns him of rats the size of dogs down there.
Was that a programmer? Because I thought he was just another hobo.
Oh, I right-clicked and it said a former programmer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's chalk that up to another thing Chandler missed in this game. Damn.
Jesus, and
Should
you're
I
the one
start
that's like,
another
we should
list?"
play adventure games. It's like,
Apparently,
I just assumed that was like, let's try to be as completionist as possible, but
ain't nobody got time for that. Apparently,
nobody got time for that, apparently.
Ugh.
Oh,
my
dear.
God.
So, the VidPhone control box is down in the sewer, not far from the ladder. Blade pops it open with a personal explosive and rewires the box so that he will receive Johnny Kwong's messages.
Oh yeah, he's got like 4 explosives.
Oh, yeah. Just in his
Just-
pocket. It's
Just
fine.
It's what you do.
Yeah.
L.A. America post dystopia thing. I
Yep,
guess.
exactly. Back at home, there's a message waiting. The message is for Johnny Kwong, sent from the same Deng Huang who had called Chen Lu before his death. Mr. Huang has heard all about the delay at the warehouse factory and demands that Mr. Kwong deal with it personally. He will brook no delays. Blade goes to the warehouse factory and blows up the power generator panel, which starts a cascade failure that blows up the entire warehouse.
I'ma blow the dome!
Blade gets away, but is spotted by some of the workers. He gets back to his apartment to find another message from Deng Huang for Johnny Kwong. News travels fast. He knows the former police officer, William Hunter, destroyed the downtown warehouse and accuses Kwong's security measures as being inadequate. He tells Kwong to meet him at the manufacturing headquarters. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
Deng Huang, arch-villain, holds command over an emergency meeting, announcing that William Hunter destroyed their warehouse and accuses Johnny Kwong of failure. There is only one price to pay for failure, and that is feeding the dragon. Huang murders Kwong in front of all those gathered, hoping it is sufficient motivation to keep them from making the same mistake.
Nothing like some quality fratricide.
Yep. He then sends the snake out to get Blade and destroy everything that he loves. Check.
And check.
The next day, Blade heads over to see Karen and collect the lab report. She gives him a tape which shows a mutagen virus called MTZ attacking a red blood cell and transmuting the cell into a copy of the MTZ mutagen. Blade asks Karen to look up Deng Huang, but she finds some serious encryption and security on the file. She's able to get around it and finds that there's hardly any information there at all, though the man's name appears in federal investigations of the Chinese mafia and a break-in at a Los Alamos genetic research facility. Because, of course, Los Alamos has a genetic research facility.
Of course.
Well, yeah, obviously. Yeah. Do you suggest anything else?
Right?
Yeah, I know, right? Tape in hand, Blade then goes to see the mayor, though it takes some doing to get in to see him. He calls the mayor on this whole... I know, right?
Got some thoughts on her, too.
Bureaucracy. He calls out the mayor on this whole situation, but the mayor doesn't seem willing to play ball. Blade indicates he has information that would cost the mayor the next election, and they have to renegotiate if he wants to hear it. The mayor threatens to throw Blade in jail, so Blade tells the mayor about Chandra hanging out with associates of the Chinese mafia, a drug dealer who gave her a bad dose. The dose was laced with the mutagen virus MTZ, which rearranged her DNA and murdered her. He also explains how he traced Chen Lu and found he'd been killed by the same substance. The mayor demands Blade find the person responsible and shut down the whole operation, which Blade refuses to do without some better incentive. The mayor offers him a free pass into the police armory to help him in his mission. Blade takes full advantage of that pass.
And that's another spot that the Chandler never saw. Because I just couldn't negotiate with the mayor to save my life, apparently.
It's kind of a delicate process.
Good gracious, it is.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Karen is kidnapped!
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, check.
Yeah.
Blade receives a message from Deng Huang. He tells Blade that he has taken Karen Summers and that Blade needs to butt out of the investigation. Continuing to pester Huang will only result in Blade hurting himself and those he cares for, namely Karen. There's also a message from the Jake, who's heard some dangerous people are looking for a PI who's been more nosy than is good for him. He asks Blade to meet him that night at the warehouse. Meanwhile,
Yes.
Deng Huang
Like a
makes a
freaking
broadcast.
Monty Python skit.
I know, right?
Absolutely.
There's a lot of meanwhiles coming up, so you're just gonna hear.
There's more?
Hold on to your butts.
Meanwhile, Deng Huang makes a broadcast to the city of LA. He introduces himself as Bahumat and declares he will soon control the city. He has only a couple of demands. First, that the mayor disband and dismiss the police and resign his office. Second, that $500 million in diamonds and platinum be delivered to him at a time, place, and in a manner of his choosing. If his demands aren't met, he will spread the MTZ virus through the city. Also, meanwhile, Huang orders some dispersal units to the reservoir. But lo! What else could go wrong? The Snake arrives at the warehouse with the Jake under his power, a gun held to his head. Blade fights his way through the Snake's men and defeats Snake himself. The Jake thanks him and tells him where the baddies are hiding Karen. He also gives him the Snake's ID card.
So, I know we're just glossing over that section, but that is probably
Yes.
one of the most hilarious action sequences with some of the wonkiest controls ever.
Oh yeah, and we will talk about that after the story.
I just wanted to point it out. That's an action scene,
Yes.
and we're going to be talking about it.
It's an action scene, and it's funny, and yeah, we'll talk about it. Oh. After that, Blade heads to the Hollywood Reservoir and takes out a few bad guys, then steals a hover car to go to Deng Huang's hideout at DH Enterprises.
For another action scene.
Meanwhile,
Sorry, had to point that out.
yeah, it is another action
God,
scene.
the Dang Wang. Who thought that name was a good idea?
I don't know, but these names are really hard to say when you read them out loud.
Yeah, they are.
I'm like, I give up. I'm just saying them however they come out of my mouth, I
Yeah.
guess.
Oh man, they're fantastic.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that like half of your check page is just checks at this point, right, Tom?
Oh yeah, it's just full.
Oh, I have a lot. Yeah, I have a
Yep,
lot.
It's a lot of checks.
It's gonna take a while to count them all up.
Yep, you've got another one here coming up.
I can't wait.
Meanwhile, Karen struggles against her captors, and Deng Huang gloats about how he's going to kill everyone, including Karen and Blade Hunter.
He does actually do that.
Yeah.
Check.
And check.
How many check? Yeah, check. Okay, yeah, one check per baha.
Yes. Excellent.
You're not wrong.
Blade arrives at DH Enterprises in the stolen hover car. The receptionist there recognizes him from their school days, and after a bit of flirting, he asks her to open up the security room for him. She's reluctant to do it, but Blade's able to talk her into it, despite risking her job.
Wait.
Unless
They were high school friends?
I was thinking it was like, I don't know, high school,
I
I don't know, like certificate. I don't know what they've got in like dystopian LA as far as school goes. But she does mention that they took classes together.
Oh, God. How did I miss that?
I don't know. How did you miss that?
I went through that conversation like a dozen times. How did I miss that? Fuck.
I don't know. I mean, she just says it pretty explicitly.
Apparently, what we're learning is that Chandler was asleep at the wheels.
TLDR, need the combination to get through this conversation.
So that's how it plays out in the DOS version of the game. But if you're playing the Sega CD version, you can actually douse her with this laughing gas spray to knock her out. And it's a travesty that it's not in the DOS version of the game. Only in the Sega CD version, and it's absolutely hilarious because she starts laughing uncontrollably, like everything's really silly. So it's like really funny, and then she just collapses, and Blade's like, cool, okay, time to like break into security.
Oh my god.
It's great.
I would have tried that, but yeah, I only played the DOS
It's
version.
not, yeah, it's only in the DOS version.
Or the
Oh,
Sega
the
CD
Sega
version.
CD.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I watched the Sega CD version, that's how I know. So.
gotcha.
I tried to do it in the DOS version, it wouldn't work, and then I had to look up, why isn't this working? And it's
Yeah.
DOS game, sorry. And I'm like, that's sad.
That's some bullshit. Yeah,
That's
that
some
mace you
bullshit.
can't even use anywhere. Trust me,
Yeah.
I tried.
It's one of those objects that's just in the game that you can't use.
Yeah,
Yep.
That and your medical kit. It just says your old friend, and yeah,
Yep. Yep.
You'll never use that medical kit.
You never use it, it's just there for some reason. I don't know. And
Oh god.
I'll get there in a minute, and we'll talk about the other stuff that you can't use when we get to the critique section. But yes. Once inside the security room, Blade turns off all the systems, but it's a race against time to get Karen. He finds her strapped to a sinister machine. He frees her, and then they attempt to make their escape, only to come upon a ritual room in which Deng Huang transforms himself into the
Wait.
dragon Bahamut.
Wait, before
Oh
we
my
continue on, was Karen on something with a countdown timer?
Yup.
A check.
A check. A
Yeah.
big 80s check mark right here.
Yeah, I just had to
I
point
can't
that
make these things any bigger, but I feel like I wish that I could make this like
It's
an
like
extra big
metaphorically a big check mark.
check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had to point that out because, yeah, she is definitely on a timer, and that is a situation where you can just let her die and continue on with the game.
Oh yeah, you can totally fuck up and she
Oh
can die.
wait, she doesn't even matter?
Nope. It is not a fail state if she dies.
It's not a fail state if she dies, which was a surprise, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm obviously going for the good ending here in my story synopsis. So
Yeah.
Well, you're no fun.
no, I'm not. Not any fun at all. It has to be an 80s action movie with a happy ending, like
Yeah, it just feels wrong if you do it the other
it
way.
feels wrong if the dude doesn't get with the girl at the end, you know what I mean? Like
I mean, yeah.
Remember, we said some parts don't age as well, and
yes.
the
Yeah.
quote unquote good ending is probably one of them. I feel.
Yeah. So, Deng Huang transforms himself into the dragon Bahamut. Blade fights his way through the baddies in the room
Another action scene.
in another action scene to get to Deng Huang, or Bahamut as he is now, and then he fights the dragon and takes him out without being cut into 1,000 tiny pieces. Blade and Karen leave the building after Huang's defeat and find the mayor and the police waiting outside. Blade yells at the mayor for not being upfront with him about the situation and putting Karen's life in danger, not to mention his own. The mayor gives some self-righteous reply about sacrificing 2 people to save 14 million and being able to live with that decision. Blade belts him in the mouth. Then he and Karen walk off into the sunset, happily ever after, for now. The
Yeah.
end.
Check, and check.
Yeah, that one's like at least 4.
Like 8.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
So there's some other ways to end this game. One, my personal favorite is what I like to call the 2 candy bar pistol no Jake run. So
What?
first of all, you can fuck up and never actually get a rifle because you fuck up the negotiation with the mayor, and then you never save the Jake who gives you another rifle in case you didn't have one. Yes, instead of doing that action scene, you can just go directly to the reservoir, shoot some people, and take the hover car.
Oh my god.
And then, yeah, if you don't bribe the Jake or the bodyguards with chocolate, you just end up with 2 chocolate bars at the end of the game, which I find hilarious. I don't know why, but the idea of Blade just hoarding chocolate like a fucking madman makes me laugh hysterically.
It's expensive stuff, man. And there's one for him and one for Karen at the very end when they walk off into the sunset.
Oh, fuck that.
There you go.
And just go home with 2 candy bars.
Damn, this just took a turn for the worse.
So one of
It's
my
actually
favorite
faster to
bits.
defeat.
Yeah.
To take care of Karen and save her instead of letting her
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, sorry for interrupting.
Sorry
you.
about that. I was just gonna say one of my favorite things of bits in the game that are useless and don't actually do anything is the rock that the old Chinese man gives you, Chung Li. He gives you this rock, and I thought, maybe I should give it to Karen because I figured the 80 tropes are so strong she's gonna get kidnapped. So I gave it to her and she's like, "Wow, Blade, it's so beautiful, thank you." And Blade's like, "Yeah, I thought you'd like it." Oh shit, I hope I don't need that later. And no, Blade doesn't need it later at all, and in fact, neither does Karen. It does absolutely nothing. It's just a pretty
placebo.
rock.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
It's just a pretty rock. Because I thought that was going to be one of those, fail state things, you didn't do this now, so she's going to die later. Look
right.
now, the dragon's going to try to kill her, but she needs the stone to be Satan now.
No, there are so many hanging points in this game where it just doesn't resolve it, and it is glorious for that. Oh yeah, you didn't save the Jake, you just went directly to the reservoir. Okay, we're never gonna address that again.
Yep, but just forget it. It's no problem.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh man, that one made me laugh so much. I was like, oh wait, this meanwhile says that there's shit at the reservoir. Okay, I'm gonna actually just save here and try and go to the reservoir right now. Bye, Jake.
Bye.
And the game doesn't
Don't eat
stop you.
Oh my god.
So I think that's a good segue to talk about the action sequences.
Oh god, yes. Okay, so first of all, let me just put this out of the way right now. Fuck the controls. They are
fuck that.
really bad. Keep in mind this is during the experimental phase of platformers on the PC. You have QWE to move up to the left, just stand up, and then move up to the right. A, S, and D. A to move left, S to do your action, which is shoot typically. and D to move right. Z, X, and C is to crouch and move to the left, crouch and move to the right. Now, what do you think jump is? Spacebar?
Spacebar?
No, that's your shoot again. Try again.
Shift?
No, that's far too convenient. Try
Tab.
enter.
What?
Yeah. And there's no
You have
sense
to go
of...
to the entirely other side of the keyboard for no reason. You have to let go of your mouse.
And press
Wait,
enter.
is the mouse useful at all?
Yes, it's a point and click. Yeah.
So you're using your mouse, so you have to let go of the mouse, hit enter, and go back to the mouse every time you need to jump.
Well, you can do the entire action scene without having any mouse whatsoever.
Yep, it's all keyboard controls.
Yeah.
Huh.
So they're just like, fuck it. We're just going to make it like this. Yeah. So you know how enter is your thing? Well, you can press enter and he'll jump like equivalent to the bottom of his feet hitting the top of his head, right? Which is a big jump, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you hit Q, W, or E while pressing enter, and the game manual says this, leap, which means you are now making every basketball player insanely jealous because you jump from the bottom of the screen to the top of the screen. And I'm not even joking about that. You are jumping like 3 or 4 people high in the most ridiculous way possible. He looks like he's about to sit down on the crapper with his hands out forward. And he's just jumping. Just going all for it.
I love it. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. It seems really useful, to have insane, physics like that in a game that is relatively serious by the sounds of it, other than the jokes.
Yeah, like when I finally figured out how to do this, I couldn't help but cackle maniacally. Like, why is this dude jumping off the screen? Because
Right.
I was trying to jump off of a platform, which was like somewhere in the middle. And my first leap, I just see the bottom of his shoes at the top of the screen. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on here? Yeah, they don't explain how Blade can jump like NBA people, make him look like little toddlers. Like, seriously.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, so the action scenes are like that. They are hilarious. You have a lot of health, and you shoot people. If there is one tiny circumstance at the end of each level where you can melee somebody. And if you decide to save the Jake, you can actually melee the snake out. God, that is so stupid. That sentence just made my brain hurt. But you can melee him out, which is hilarious because it's kind of like a Punch and Judy slap fight sort of thing. And
Yeah.
it looks exactly like that. Just paper dolls smacking each other. And yeah, that's the like one place where the artwork kind of fails.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's the one action scene. The other action scene is the first person shooter section at the reservoir. So, those like hunting games where you're just things wander into the screen and then you shoot them?
You're talking like Oregon Trail,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
Basically, yeah. Yeah. That scene can go to hell.
See, I had way more luck with the reservoir shootout than the other two action sequence. I couldn't finish the other two at all.
Oh,
But I was able to get through the first person shoot 'em up, like boom 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 thing.
I saved you a lot of headache though. Because how do you equip a gun? The gun, that gun that you had when you were in the action scene just before this, that was automatically there. Well, you have a gun in your inventory. Did you take the gun out and try and aim it at people? No, you don't do that. And you just throw it on the ground if you try that. Because apparently Blade has no concept of, automatically equipping a gun. So, do you, backspace it or something like that in the inventory so you get that red square around it so you can use it? No, you don't do that.
Oh, no.
This brings up one point that I have to actually back up for. So at the very beginning of the game, you start naked, which is probably the best fail state ever. You can just walk right out of Blade's apartment and just right onto the subway, and you get busted. It's like, you're in your birthday suit. You're going to jail, and then that's the end of the game for you.
Oh god.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's
So,
it.
how do you think you put on clothes?
I don't know.
So you pick up your clothes, right?
Yeah.
They're in your inventory now. Oh, well, you got clothes, right? You're good.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, you're not. There's a picture of Blade. If you right-click on the inventory, if you left-click, you just see your inventory. So they have two separate inventory things. Don't ask me
God.
why. But if you right-click on the inventory, it shows Blade on the far right side.
Okay.
You drag your clothes onto Blade, and it shows like an animation of him tucking in his shirt after he puts all the clothes on, right? Which is cool. Really cool.
Yeah.
And then like you throw his jacket on. And before when you talk to Mr. I don't know Hollywood in the alleyway, yet I know DuPont, what you can put your tactical vest on that way too, right? So it's used like 3 or 4 times throughout the game.
Okay.
Yeah. You have to tell Blade to hold his gun just like that.
Oh,
And
God.
everything's click and drag. Like, there's no click and you pick it up. You have to drag it into your inventory. And everything's click and drag. Like, there's no click and you pick it up. You have to drag it into your inventory.
Yeah.
It's all the same, and it's just really unintuitive in the extreme.
I agree and disagree with that at the same time. There's a justification for it, because
Okay, well,
Obvious-
I mean, I start the game and I spend like the first 20 minutes trying to figure out how the fuck to get dressed. I can see this clothes. Fuck am I supposed to put them on? And when I finally get them in my inventory, like, really? Every click and drag? Like, what the hell is this? And then I have to spend another 10 minutes to try and figure out how to put my fucking clothes on.
yeah,
Like, it's unintuitive.
it is very hostile. So,
You guys have way more patience than I do.
oh god, no.
I quit. I'll be honest. Like struggling that first little bit. Like I the game,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm not. I don't have time for this. I might never finish it.
I'll be honest, it took me like 3 tries before I actually sat down and went through with a walkthrough.
Yeah.
But yeah, the controls are just god awful. But because of that, and because you're this hard-boiled private eye kind of character, the act of dragging shit into your inventory at the bottom right of the screen kind of feels like you're just jamming it into your trench coat, which I thought was kind of a fun flavor almost.
Yeah.
But if you don't know click and drag is a thing for inventory, oh god, this game is horrible.
Get ready
Yeah.
for some pain.
Yeah, like, this is a game I remember playing when I was like, I don't know, 6. And I remember the first fail state of where you go into the subway and you immediately get arrested for running out naked. And that was the only thing I remember about this game until we decided to, make this a game that we're going to talk about. So, yeah, I was like, oh, it's that game where you get arrested for being naked. That's a savage adventure game kind of idea.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. I mean, the humor. You're right. The humor is pretty fucking hilarious.
Right? Yeah, this game has some great humor. But yeah, the inventory is horrible. I literally spent 20 minutes at that reservoir trying to figure out how to get Blade to use his own gun. Ugh. Ugh.
When it takes that long to figure out how to equip a single item, you know that somebody along the way just did a truly horrendous job
Yeah.
with some programming there, or not even programming, just layout.
It could have been resolved a lot easier if it didn't have 2 inventories. Like, that's all it would have taken. Like, oh,
It didn't have what?
like, it has a quote-unquote quick inventory, which is not any faster so far as I can tell, and then it has the
Right.
regular inventory where it shows Blade on the right-hand side. if they just had a Blade on the right hand side all the time, it would kind of be a cue like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe I should put it on him. But
Yeah,
if
I
you're
would have
right.
absolutely figured it out faster that way.
yeah, like you see Blade naked. Oh, maybe if I click and drag these clothes onto him, it would have been a lot better. But
Yeah,
no.
sort of like how you like combine things in your inventory in other games. Like it would have been more intuitive that way to be like, oh, well, maybe I have to just like use clothes on Blade,
Yeah, that would have made
and then
sense.
he'd wear them. Use gun on Blade, like
Oh,
Right.
you made him shoot himself in the head. Game over. Oh, what the
Game
shit
over.
game?
the end.
I think that's not in the game, but I would expect something like that from Sierra.
Yeah.
Owned Dynamics. That was something I forgot to mention. Does this feel like a Sierra game? Absolutely.
Yeah. It feels very much in that vein.
Yes. So, yeah, the inventory is god awful. The controls in the action scenes are god awful. But despite that, it's actually, like, that's kind of what makes it fun, though.
Yeah.
Like, the controls are so bad, it's hilarious. And Blade jumping an entire screen height is just solid fucking gold. Like, his leap and, like, the animation of him in midair is like he's got to take a dump and he's trying not to let it out. It is great. Oh my god. This game has made me laugh so much because of the unintentionally bad mechanics. And I'll be honest, the humor on it is pretty good too. Like, if you go back and talk to the flower lady after you buy flowers, obviously the game developers don't want you to buy more flowers, right? So
Yeah.
they have an in-world explanation on why she stops buying flower, or why she can't sell you any flowers anymore. It is glorious. She's like new age hippie kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
You need your chakras balanced and crap like that, right? Well, after she sells you flowers and you talk to her again, she's like, "Oh, I don't sell flowers anymore. I couldn't imagine, or I couldn't handle myself killing plants for the enjoyment of humans." Or something like that.
And this is after you've bought a shitload of flowers from
Yeah,
her.
you bought a fucking dozen roses from her, and now she's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. Like,
That's great.
that part made me laugh too, because it's like, oh boy, this is I shouldn't be doing this. And it's like an in-world explanation of a mechanic, which is solid gold. What were you?
By the way, because I don't think I brought it up, I counted up all of the strikes or checks against this game, and there's a nice even round 40. is what I found.
Oh, that makes me so happy. That's a really good number. Oh, that makes me good. It would only be better if it were 60.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
I'm sure that
40
we've
is
I was
lost
being
over some.
very
Good,
kind.
even number. It's even. It's round. It's got an even number at the front. Oh, it's so good.
I was definitely being very, very kind to it, and there was a lot of things where I was like, should I? No, I can't do it every single time Devin says a word. So
Okay, to be perfectly fair, we glossed over some things in there that are well
yeah, I
worth
mean that's
another
just what I
couple
counted
shows.
up from your descriptions. I mean, I imagine if I played the game, that number would probably quintuple.
Yeah.
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 When I was typing up the synopsis summary thing, I tried to do a version that was like pretty clean and just kind of concise, but it didn't do the game justice, and
Right.
it just felt. So I'm like, okay, I got to go back through and type out almost literally everything in the game, because otherwise y'all ain't gonna understand.
Oh, yeah.
How over the top this game is.
Yeah, just how very 80s this game is, and how very strange. Well, and also, like, how you can literally miss things, and it doesn't really matter that well, but it's like, it
yeah.
makes more sense. Like, for example, if you go back to the Jake, and then, kind of bribe him a bit, and then he comes up later, like, as a recurring character, like, narratively, that's pretty nice. But you don't have to do that. You can miss that. You
can keep
not
those
even go
chocolates.
back and... You can keep the chocolate bars. Like, you don't even have to go back and talk to him again, Like,
So funny.
if you make it through the negotiation with the mayor, like, for example, the mayor's like, okay, well, you need to go take out the guy and take care of this and destroy their whole operation. And Blade's like, fuck this. I don't have to do anything you tell me to do. fuck you guys. And he's like about to leave, and the mayor's like, no, we can talk this out. Let's talk this out. How about I give a pass to the police armory? And Blade's like, all right.
I got that.
I guess I'll do that for you then.
Well, yeah, like, you didn't even really talk about the secretary at the city hall.
No, I
government
didn't.
Building. And this is one of the things that annoyed the shit out of me. Like, okay, we have Bahamut, the Chang dude, as the main villain, right? No, it's that secretary. That home-wrecking secretary. She's the worst character in this game. And it's not for anything, like, major. Like, yes, she's like, I'm one of those secretaries that spends all day painting my nails, sort of thing, right? And she's apparently got the hots for Blade, because apparently, like, every time he comes in, she's hitting on him, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god. This was the one place that I actively started looking for uses for the mace in his medicine cabinet. Because Jenny, the secretary, is one of the most obnoxious characters. You can't do anything in the city hall without walking by her and having to interact with this woman who is like, I am going to jump on you unless you pound me away with a stick. Like, that's the personality they gave her, right?
Uh-huh.
Oh boy. There was a whole lot of frustration with her. I can deal with bad controls. I can deal with a nonsense 80s plot. But her, she is the worst character in this game. And the fact that I hate her so much is kind of telling. It almost became like an enjoyable hatred. Because it's like, oh, now I'm going to try and mace you. I'm going to try and shoot you with the pistol. Oh, I got this AK. I'm going to try and shoot you with it. I tried a lot. I'll be honest. She's the only one that I really tried to kill on multiple times. Because, like, okay, she's annoying, right? And then Karen gets abducted. And you go back and you're in the city hall. And then you try talking to her again because you're like, okay, whatever. I got to get some information or whatever. Oh, don't talk to me now. I'm painting my nails. What?
Oh my god.
What? You have been literally dry humping my leg every time I come in. And now you're too busy to even talk to me? Whoo, salt. Ooh, so much salt. And the only reason that, like, I put any thought into this is because in the DOS version, she's got this weird low-res face when you first walk into the area that looks like she's wearing a gas mask. So I was like, there's got to be some importance of this secretary, right? No. No.
I've seen this. They shared it on the group for those of you in the audio medium and can't see this photo. But yeah, it's really weird. It's like there's just like this green, like she has like green glowing eyes, and like the resolution's bad. So I mean, I can't totally blame it, but still, it looks very wrong and strange. It's like, is that an alien or is she wearing a gas mask? I mean, it's not very clear that she's a she at all.
Yeah, it just kind of looks like somebody's behind a desk wearing a gas mask.
With green glowing eyes for no reason.
Well, it looks like a Great War secretary on the front line.
Yep.
It is. Yeah, that was like the initial like strange attractor. It was like, what is going on with this person? And then her personality was like, ooh, toxic kind of thing. And apparently my irrational brain was like, I'm having none of this. She has to be pushed away with vicious force.
Right.
Yeah, so I didn't do any exploration on, stringing her along as a 80s action hero does. Yeah, she's the worst character ever. Anyway, I feel like I've ranted enough about that. Did you have any impression about that, Devin?
Well, I mean, my impression was just sort of, the kind of expected misogyny of, like, not only 80s tropes, but maybe the time itself. Sure. That she's just set up as this, like, oh yeah, I'm super after you, bleh, and then after the game has no use for her at all, it's just back to being, oh, don't bother me, I'm doing my nails. So I didn't find it nearly as annoying as you did. I mean, on that level, I was just more like,
Well,
well, here's another trope with a female character who's like a complete bimbo and super after the, white, straight male protagonist. Like, And then as soon as the game has no use for her functionally, because functionally she's the gatekeeper for the mayor, that you have to talk her into letting you in to see the mayor halfway through the game.
Right.
It was interesting flavor that when you walked in, she would greet you. And when you said, oh, I need to go see Karen, right? That she'd be like, oh, okay, all the good ones are taken. It was like, okay, that's, when you walk into a building, the receptionist usually greets you. So that's an interesting function. But, I mean, her character-wise, it's like, I didn't like her character, but her character was like straight up, oh, this is real sexist.
yeah,
I mean, it's part of the trope as well. Like, you would expect it there because tropes, but I mean, it's still sexist. And that was kind of where I was at.
80s action movie, no 80s action movie is complete without rampant sexism. That's just
It's true. It's true. It's true.
but
it's just part of the
true.
experience.
here's kind of the thing though. Like, there's the other secretary that you try and woo, right? The one you had classes with, Lorraine. I didn't have an issue with, because it's like, oh yeah, I know you from somewhere. It's like, hey, yeah, I'm
think
actually
about
this
it.
dude, and yeah, I need to get in there. Can you help me out? And then, like, it's okay.
Think about this, though, Chandler. Think about this in the way these two characters are set up. They're both functionally the same. They're gatekeepers for something that you, the player, needs to get to. You, the player, may not be a straight, white, 80s protagonist, but you... Yeah,
Inconceivable! Yeah.
But you, Chandler, I'm going to call you on this a little bit, is that you are a dude. You just also happen to be white and maybe straight. But
As far as you
I know you're white. So it's not your hair color. Only white comes with that hair color naturally.
Oh, thanks.
But think about it this way, is that what happens with Jenny is that you don't have any use for her, and she's annoying. She bothers you. She's coming on to you. You don't want to do that. You want to play the game. But then when you want something from her, she doesn't put out. She just says, leave me alone. And that pisses the fuck out of you, because when you don't want to be bothered, she's bothering you. But when you want to bother her, she doesn't want to be bothered. As opposed to Lorraine, who is completely willing and open to give you what you want. Like, she replies favorably to your flirting, which you're using as a tool to get to what you need to do.
Which plays into that trope.
And she just falls into the thing. So, like, what you're describing is she wasn't annoying because she was doing what you wanted.
But
man.
And
here's
Jenny does not do what you're wanting. And I'm not saying that that's like all men who play this are going to feel this way. They might not.
Oh no,
no,
play this way.
Like,
non-binary friends might play it and feel that way too, because the tropes are set up that way, and they are coded like culturally that this is annoying. This woman is coming on to me and I don't want her to, or this woman isn't talking to me and I need to talk to her. But this woman's like being really open and accepting, and like she's like into me, and she's going to do what I want her to do. And we're kind of culturally coded, generally speaking, that we're disfavorable to one and favorable to the other. And so that's kind of what I see you describing, is that you didn't have a problem with Lorraine because she was doing what you wanted.
No, if there was another option to not hit on Lorraine and still get in there, I tried. There was only one option there.
Oh no, I'm just pointing out the fact that the way you're reacting to these characters / these tropes, that's what's happening, is that this woman's annoying you, this one's not. And it's set up that way where one is going to be annoying and the other one's not. Specifically. And it feels a little weird because they're both women, right? It's not like there's a male secretary here that you're like, oh god, I can't believe that he's just being such an asshole. It's like, everything to do with Jenny is very coded female and annoying.
Okay, to be perfectly fair, I was annoyed with Jenny like from the get-go, and I have no rational reason why. She's just a character in this game. But the first interaction with her is the most obnoxious that I've ever had. Because, like, when you go to the Pleasure Dome, you can talk to a hooker there. And she hits on you very much like Jenny does.
But she's a hooker, Chandler. A different context. The hooker you expect to come on to you and flirt because she's a hooker. This woman is a professional. She shouldn't be coming on to you behind this desk. And she comes on really strong. I mean, like, her dialogue, admittedly, is like, whoa, man. Like, she's definitely, like...
You have some restraining orders on you, don't you?
Yeah, she comes on real strong. It, at least to me, the way I read it, is it wasn't just, like, playful banter. It was like, she's like, dude, you're so hot. I want to get in your pants right now. Let's do it right on this desk. And it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
I have a girlfriend. You may or may not know this.
Even if
and I say may or may not because it's not clear how long, you know, Blade and Karen have been dating, so maybe she doesn't know. But again, it's the context. In this context, Jenny is not supposed to come on to you. Only you are supposed to come on to her when you want to, as opposed to a hooker who you expect to come on to you because she's a hooker. She's looking to, you know, get money for sex. That's really mean to call her a hooker. She's a sex worker. We're respectful here.
Yeah. Like, I think she actually describes herself as a hooker or something.
She does, but again, like, how many women went into writing this game, do you think? I didn't check the credits.
Also, you know, hello, another 80s trope. But anyway.
Yeah.
Also another
check
80s
and a double check. Yeah.
And the woman posing as a man, posing as a woman at the card table.
Oh, God. Yeah.
What?
So there's a few interesting things in the Pleasure Dome, and actually a really funny, another misogynist kind of moment. If you go back and try to talk to Jenny, like you're role-playing your character, and you just walk back in and they're like, hey, Karen, how are you doing? There's a dude with long hair there, and your Blade's like, oh, man, I should cut that out before I'm called Switchblade.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And that was something I missed when I played the game. I didn't go back to see if Karen would be there, which I should have thought to do, because I should have thought, oh, they're going to like use the same background, right? Like they wouldn't have put time in to put a background where Karen's not there. And sure enough,
Yeah.
turns out it's just a dude there. And then there's this really homophobic comment.
Yeah. Well, it was very homophobic. That being said, in the 80s as fuck context, that's pretty funny. But it is very, very homophobic.
It's extremely homophobic. It's
Yeah.
Well, I think it's acceptable to look back on old 80s things and laugh at how unbelievably bad they are for these reasons, you know? As long as you're not laughing like, ha ha ha, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
well, it's like
You go,
cringe
ha,
laugh.
wow, that made me uncomfortable.
It's like cringe laugh versus, you know,
Right.
yeah, like
Yeah.
actually earnest laughing.
Exactly.
That was
Yeah, it's
nervous
not-
laughter.
Ooh, that's right. That is how people talked back then.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, it's not the unadulterated joy of watching him launch himself all the way over the screen because, you know, apparently white guys can jump in this universe. Sorry, I can't get over that. That was the most absurd thing I've seen in this game. Which is saying something, because this game has some pretty funny moments. Like, here's a bunch of useless stuff, and a bulletproof vest. Like, what? Why do you know DuPont, but you don't know the Hollywood sign?
Yeah,
You're
there was
living in LA.
Kevlar as well. Like,
Yeah. There's some funny inconsistencies here.
it's pretty great.
Yeah, you're probably absolutely right about my unadulterated hatred for Jenny, but still, oof, she's the true villain of this story. For no reason other than she's just super obnoxious at every interaction.
Right.
I think by design, but still.
man.
Did I have anything else to rant about?
I think we covered everything that I wanted to talk about, basically. I didn't think the story, I mean, besides being tropey as hell and super 80s, like, I didn't think the story was actually too bad. Because it was very, you know, 80s. You know, it was
Sure.
just sort of like, and for the most part, once you figure out how to play the game, I mean, it's put together pretty well. I think, like, you know, there are like the controls being bollocks, and you know, the click and drag thing is really weird. But I think, you know, and there is like a little bit of a learning curve without a walkthrough. Like, what the hell am I supposed to do? But for the most part, you kind of figure it out, like, as you get clues. Oh, the only thing we didn't talk about is the time advancement mechanic.
Oh yes, we should talk about
Because
that.
so basically what happens is the big action of the plot, which is the big end finale, has to happen on a certain day because of the prophecy. So you start like 4 days ahead of time. And as the game progresses, you can skip ahead in time if you don't have anything to do. Like if you've done everything you could skip ahead and then go to bed, then wake up the next day. And this is really interesting because it's an interesting mechanic because I mean, yeah, like it's not like railroading you through by you've chosen a mechanic, like you've chosen to do these things and then you've completed all of these things, so we're going to move you to the next day. It's no, you've done all these things and then you have to decide, well, have I done everything I can possibly do? And then you start advancing time. And because of this time mechanic, like it's important when you set your date with Karen at the very beginning, you can totally miss that date. For example, if you're in Chen Lu's apartment, if you stay there too long, the police will arrive and arrest you as a suspicious person, thinking that you broke in. So then if you're in jail, you miss your date, and then Karen's super pissed with you, right? Like this causes other issues. But if you get out in time and you go to the date, like this could, contributes to, I guess narratively that you become invested in Blade and Karen's relationship, that, he'd be a fool to mess it up with this girl. Like, wow, I need to stop being an idiot kind of thing. It's like, yeah, Blade, you need to stop being an idiot, and be good to her, right? Because you're not an asshole. Deep down, we're sure, like, wow, that
he's
sort of thing. He's
absolutely an asshole the way I played him.
Yeah, but you can absolutely fucking miss the date. So one of the things that they do, and why this is, like, interesting, but also what the fuck, is because if you do things fast enough, especially if you're using a walkthrough, and you're just doing what you need to do pretty quickly, you end up with, like, a whole day where you can't do anything. Or two. It depends on how quickly you do it. But you basically end up with at least a full day. And it looks like they gave you 4 days instead of 3, the developers, because they wanted to give players that extra time in case you did things slowly or you screwed up or, the timing wasn't right, like, in an earlier day. They wanted to give you that extra time to be able to complete things so that then you could still get to the finale on time. But what's weird about it is if you complete it quickly, Karen's kidnapped, and then Blade just hangs around his apartment for a full day.
Or 2.
Or 2. Because or 1.5. Because you literally cannot do anything.
Yeah.
If you've done everything up until that point that Karen's kidnapped, you can't do anything until, the 4th of August or whatever it is?
Yeah, August 4th.
I think it's August 4th. So, you literally cannot do anything until day, so you just have to hang around your apartment until that day arrives. And it's like the weirdest, most immersion breaking thing, because it's like, well, dude, what?
Do something.
my girlfriend's been kidnapped. That's fine, I'll take a nap.
Yeah. And that was the exact point in the game where I ended up wandering around finding, honestly, some of the most funny nuggets of humor they have in there, of like the flower lady that realizes that she doesn't want to harm flowers to sell to people anymore, and the Jake having a panic attack, like, oh god, you're here again, why are you here? And Jenny, I gotta paint my nails now, sort of thing. So yeah, that's an opportunity to, like, really just kind of immerse yourself in the world, but yeah, you're just stuck there, and it feels really odd as a mechanic because you expect to do more. And maybe if it was like without a walkthrough, and you're just sitting there for, like, I don't know, like 3-4 hours. Like, let's say you got it a little slow, and you ended up finishing everything off on the 3rd, and you got the notification the 3rd evening. Then it kind of makes sense because, like, you have a day to kind of panic and build up that tension, but.
Yeah. Well, because also because time advances as you play. So, like, as you travel places, time passes. So if you're kind of stuck and you're wandering around town for a full day trying to figure out what the next thing to do is, like, you might want that extra time before the 4th because time is advancing. So you'll, like, end that day and you might not be as far along as, some walkthrough or other players might be.
Yeah. It's interesting, but I feel like for kind of a balancing thing, if I were to implement something like this, the time would have a point where the story would advance regardless of where you are in the day cycle.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, like if you've completed everything up until that point, it should just advance you to the finale if you've done
Yeah.
everything.
And that would feel a lot better. But honestly, that's a minor complaint of that mechanic. Okay, so they didn't balance for that.
Also, it's not explained at all. You just have to like stumble into the mechanic for waiting. Like,
Yeah, this is definitely one of those games where you had to read the manual before you played, otherwise you wouldn't know what the hell's going on. And then, even in the manual, they have like a walkthrough on getting your clothes and your gun and then going to the city hall.
yeah, I thought that was funny.
Yeah. So even they
I was
knew
like,
that there
wow.
was some training that needed to happen, but they couldn't fit it in the game. That's Rise of the Dragon. I personally highly recommend it. It is a hilarious romp through 80s cyberpunk dystopia. And I'll put quotes around dystopia for those who can't see my invisible fingers. Final thoughts?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty fun game. I'd recommend if you have a chance to play it to give it a try if you like that sort of thing. I thought it was pretty fun.
Oh, absolutely.
And the music is really good,
Oh,
though it's
God.
better in the Sega CD version.
Oh god, yeah, the music was
Also, the voice acting in the Sega CD version is really great. So if you have an opportunity to play the Sega CD version, I would almost recommend that more because the music and the voice acting.
yeah, the colors are a little off, but honestly, there's so much better stuff there that it's
Yeah,
almost
the
worth
voice
it.
acting just really makes up for it. It's great.
Yeah, then you don't even have to talk to Lorraine. You can just spray her in the face and run away. So what do you think of this game, Tom? From our horrible description, or at least my horrible description.
It sounds awesome. I don't know if I would like. Again, it's not really my style of game to play, but I could totally see sitting down and watching one of you play it and having a really good time.
Oh yeah,
There's enough humor and there's enough, I don't know, shenanigans going on to hold your attention. Yeah, that sounds like a good time, even if some of it hasn't aged all that well.
yeah, and as long as you're okay with all the tropes and 80s misogyny, it's a pretty good romp.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, like if you're gonna watch an '80s movie, it has to be a little misogynistic, or else it's not a real '80s movie. Honestly, Let me be more specific. '80s action movie. There we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll
There's plenty
put
of movies in the '80s. Well, there's a few. There's a few '80s movies without misogyny, but
honestly, this
Like
kind of
Crystal?
just reminded me of my childhood in a game.
right.
Really.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
It was a more innocent time where the threat of getting gassed to death by these weird acid tabs that you slapped on your skin didn't really seem that bad.
Right.
As opposed to the grim dark that we see when 2001 rolls around. But,
Yeah.
and it is gloriously colored. Okay, well, that's about it. Where can we find everybody?
Plugs, they're very important. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at Lady Merowith.
Okay. You can find me on Twitter. I make bad game jokes and programming jokes. So, yeah, you can argue with me about 80s tropes too, I suppose. And how about you, Tom?
You can find me on pretty much just Instagram. I theoretically will. I've been meaning to make a Twitter, so that might come soon. And if it does, it'll be under the same name, which is Tomakaze, but misspelled. So it's Tomakze. And I don't have a lot of video game content. I have a little bit of D&D content, and I have it's mostly car audio stuff. So not even remotely related to anything that we're talking about today.
Remote start.
There's a few remote start stuff on there. There's some pretty lights and stuff installed in boxes, like subwoofer boxes.
That's what you
Yeah,
do.
that's about all I got. That's what I do. Yeah, that's what I
you
do.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. Once again, this is the Adventure Mechanics. I'm Chandler.
I'm Devin.
And I'm Tom.
Bye!
Bye.